What if the reason your life feels stuck isn't that you're lazy? It's that your future never gets its turn? If you work hard, come home drained, and keep telling yourself you'll change things later, this story is for you. Because one broke man changed everything with one decision. He stopped giving his best hours to survival and started giving them to his future. And in just 3 months, his life looked completely different. Before we get into it, tell me this in the comments. What time is it where you're listening from? And if this story feels like it's speaking directly to you, stay with me, because the turning point is simpler than most people think. In a worn-down industrial town, there was a 31-year-old man named Daniel. Daniel worked the late shift as a gatekeeper at a freight yard. Every night, he clocked in when the streets were going dark. Every morning, he walked home when bakery shutters were opening and office workers were ironing shirts. His paycheck covered rent, rice, bus fare, and not much else. He lived in a cramped studio with peeling paint, a rattling window, and a thin mattress pushed against the wall. One bulb lit the whole room. His work shoes were splitting at the sides. The fridge was usually half empty. But the hardest part wasn't the poverty. It was the feeling that his life was moving in circles. On his walk home, he'd pass apartment windows glowing with ordinary life. A mother packing lunch. Kids searching for school shoes. Someone tying a tie in a bathroom mirror. And every time, the same thought would hit him. When does my real life begin? He wasn't lazy. That was the part that hurt. He stood for hours, stayed alert all night, picked up extra shifts when he could. He had applied for better jobs, but with only basic schooling and no special skills, nothing changed. He wanted to study, but after a full night of work, his body wanted one thing only: sleep. So he slept through the day, and that became the trap. The world moved while he was unconscious. Offices opened, interviews happened, opportunities passed. By the time he woke up, the day was already half gone, and he was rushing to get ready for another shift that led nowhere. His aunt called him every Sunday from the village. "Daniel," she would say, "when will things finally improve? I want to see you settled. I want to see you become something." He always gave the same answer: "Soon. I'm figuring it out." But he wasn't figuring it out. He was surviving it. Then one rainy morning, everything cracked open. Just after his shift ended, his cousin called. "You need to come home. Auntie fainted in the market. She's at the clinic." Daniel felt cold all over. He boarded the first minibus out of town, knees bouncing the whole ride. When he reached the clinic, his aunt was awake but weak, a blanket pulled up to her chest. The doctor said stress, exhaustion, and poor nutrition had caught up with her. She squeezed Daniel's hand with surprising strength. "Don't spend your whole life just getting by," she whispered. "Please, find a better way." After she fell asleep, he stepped outside. It was just before dawn. The sky was still dark blue. Roosters were calling somewhere beyond the houses. A few farmers were already on the road, tools over their shoulders. The air was cool, quiet, almost empty. Daniel checked the time, 5 a.m., and standing there in that silence, something in him hardened. "No more," he said under his breath. "I'm done living like this." On the ride back to the city, he noticed a man across from him in a pressed shirt and clean jacket, calmly reading from a notebook. Daniel recognized him. It was Mr. Kareem, a local shop owner who had built a small chain of stores from nothing. What surprised Daniel wasn't just who he was. It was the time. Successful, calm, already focused, before sunrise. Daniel leaned over and asked the question that changed his life. "Sir, why are you out this early?" The man smiled. "Because these hours belong to me." Daniel frowned. Mr. Kareem closed the notebook and said, "I wake up early to think, learn, and plan before the noise begins. If you don't protect part of your day, life will spend all of it for you." That line hit Daniel hard. If you don't protect part of your day, life will spend all of it for you. Daniel admitted he worked nights. He explained his routine. Home after sunrise, sleep most of the day, rush back to work, repeat. Mr. Kareem nodded slowly. "That's why you feel trapped. You're giving every usable hour to maintenance, none to growth." Daniel asked the obvious question. "But if I need sleep, what am I supposed to do?" "Change the shape of your day," the older man said. Sleep as soon as you get home. Wake up earlier than you're used to. Start small if you must, but build time that belongs to your future. Eventually, make 5 a.m. your standard. Those hours can rebuild a life. Before getting off the bus, Mr. Kareem tore a page from his notebook and wrote down a number. If you're serious, call me. I'll show you what to do with the time. But only if you're serious. Daniel stared at that number all the way home. That evening, instead of doing what he always did, scrolling, eating, lying there half awake until work, he made the call. The next day, he met Mr. Kareem at a tea shop just after noon, for the first time in years fully awake during daylight on a weekday. Mr. Kareem looked pleased. "Good," he said. "Most people love the idea of change. Very few change anything." Then he drew a rectangle on a napkin. "This is your life," he said. "Right now, every inch of it is spent earning just enough to return to work. That's survival. But survival is not the same as building." He split the rectangle into 2 blocks. "Your new life starts with 2 protected hours." He called them future hours. Hour 1, learn something the market pays for. Not random videos, not gossip, not endless scrolling. A real skill. Spreadsheets, bookkeeping, customer support, design, coding, sales, anything useful that can raise your value. Hour 2, strengthen the machine and sharpen the mind. Walk, stretch, exercise, read, write, review what you learned, plan your next step. Then he gave Daniel 3 rules. First, no negotiation. If you decide on the hour, you honor the hour. Second, protect sleep. Waking early is not magic if your nights are chaos. Third, expect resistance. The first days will feel awful. Push through anyway. Then came the challenge. 90 days, Mr. Kareem said. "Give me 90 days of disciplined mornings. Don't talk about it. Don't announce a new life. Build one. Then come back." Daniel agreed immediately. That first week was brutal. His alarm went off in darkness, and every part of him wanted to quit. His eyes felt hot. His legs were heavy. His room was cold. More than once, his hand hovered over the phone, ready to shut it off and disappear back under the blanket. But then he'd remember the clinic, his aunt's voice, the farmers on the road before dawn, that sentence on the bus. These hours belong to me. So he got up. At a small plastic table near the window, with a chipped mug beside him, he started watching free lessons on spreadsheets and basic bookkeeping. At first, it barely made sense. Rows, formulas, totals, entries. He rewound the same 10 minutes again and again. Then he'd go outside and walk. The streets were nearly empty. Closed shops. Stray dogs curling back to sleep. A tea seller setting up cups. The sky slowly changing color over concrete rooftops. For the first time in years, Daniel wasn't just ending a day. He was beginning one. That mattered. By the 3rd week, something shifted. He woke up a minute before the alarm. He didn't love it yet, but he no longer felt at war with it. The lessons started clicking. He learned how to organize data, track inventory, and build simple reports. He filled a cheap notebook with formulas and reminders. His walks turned into light jogs. His shoulders loosened. His mind felt less foggy. At work, people noticed. "You look different," one coworker said. "Did something happen?" Daniel smiled and gave the answer he would keep repeating. "I'm building my life before sunrise." By the 2nd month, he had finished several beginner courses and started practicing on real problems. The freight yard still used messy handwritten logs for supplies and deliveries. Numbers were crossed out, pages were missing, and no one could find anything quickly. So Daniel made a simple tracking sheet. Nothing fancy, just clean columns, dates, item names, quantities, and totals. When his supervisor saw it, he stopped and stared. "You made this?" Daniel nodded. "Where did you learn it?" Same answer. Before sunrise. The sheet spread through the office. Then the operations manager asked Daniel to help organize a week's worth of records. He did. Then another set. Then another. On day 88, near the end of his shift, he was called into the front office. He thought maybe he'd made a mistake. Instead, the manager slid a paper across the desk. "We need a junior inventory clerk on the day team," he said. "Someone who understands the yard and can work with records and reports. It pays far more than your current role. If you want it, it's yours. Daniel just stared. 3 months earlier, he was a tired night watchman sleeping through his own future. Now someone was offering him a desk, a day schedule, and a real path forward. He finally managed to ask, "When do I start?" Monday. That night, he called Mr. Kareem. "I did it," Daniel said, his voice shaking. "I didn't miss the mornings. And today they offered me the new job." There was a pause, then a warm laugh on the other end. "Good," Mr. Kareem said. "But remember, the promotion is not the secret. The secret is who you became at 5 a.m. That line stayed with him. The promotion was a result. The real change was identity. Months later, Daniel moved into a brighter apartment. He brought his aunt to the city for proper treatment. He replaced the torn shoes, filled the fridge, bought a desk, then another course, then another. And every morning, he still woke before dawn. Not because he had to, because those hours had become sacred. That was where he studied, planned, exercised, and kept building the version of himself that his old life never had room for. People asked him why he still bothered. He would say, "Success isn't something you arrive at. It's something you rehearse. And for me, rehearsal starts before sunrise." That's the real lesson here. Waking up at 5 a.m. is not magic by itself. The clock won't save you. The point is what those quiet hours force you to do. Choose your future on purpose. No noise, no excuses, no one asking for anything yet. Just you, your habits, and the life you keep saying you want. So here's the challenge. Tonight, set the alarm. Put your phone far enough away that you have to stand up to silence it. Decide what your first hour is for. One skill, one plan, one direction, not 10, one. Then protect it for the next 90 days. You do not need to become a different person overnight. You need to stop giving every drop of energy to survival. Remember the line, if you don't protect part of your day, life will spend all of it for you. So tell me in the comments, what will you build in your first hour tomorrow? And if you're serious, type this: "These hours belong to me." Because somewhere on the other side of that alarm clock is a version of you that's been waiting long enough.